Hello YouTube, I come to you 87% pinker than last time. So what I want to do today is a reply to a video I was tagged in by Mortaloack. This video was originally a 10 things I love video. However, if I did 10 things I loved, I'd just be sitting here saying books over and over again. For myself, I thought I'd change it into a 10 books I love. But even that was too hard. I've narrowed it down to a 10 books / series / authors I love. I had to, in the end, resort to pretending I was on Desert Island Discs. I don't know if anyone out there knows Desert Island Discs. I think you have to be in the UK and you have to have parents who listen repeatedly to Radio 4. But Desert Island Discs is a radio show in which people go on and choose the 10 songs they would take with them if they were going to be stranded on a desert island. I've done it with books. So let's begin the trip around my room. Firstly, of course, I would take Harry Potter. If you didn't know already that I would take Harry Potter with me, you've probably watched none of my previous videos and want to back away slowly from this video, terrified of the pink-haired girl with all the books. I will never ever stop loving Harry Potter. I've grown up with Harry, I met so many of my friends through Harry Potter, and I just think they're lovely, they're amazing. I absolutely love the characters. I cry with them, I laugh with them. Reading these books just makes me happy. The next book I didn't have to think long and hard about either, although I did refuse to pick a single book. With this one I'd take the entire collected works of the author. These are Tamora Pierce's books. There are more behind my head, and there are more down here in fact as well that you can't see. I absolutely love Tamora Pierce. I first read her books when I was about 12 I think, and I've never stopped loving them. The Dane series, which I think's here, and the Alana series over here are my particular favourites. The Alana series, if you don't know, is about a girl who disguises herself as a boy so she can become a knight. The Dane series are about a girl who eventually learns to talk to and transform into animals, which is my ideal magical power. From here I don't have to take you far to get to our next book. Let's just move the camera up. These books here are the Dragon Knight series, and I very much doubt anyone watching these videos has ever heard of them before. Dragon Knights is a 26-volume manga about Rune, Vats and Wrath, and each of them can control the dragon of water, earth and fire respectively. It basically tells through these books the fight these three put up against various demons, and it explores the interesting motives behind why all three of these people have joined up. That's a human obsessed with treasure, Rune, an elven prince who's obviously got something very sad in his past, and Wrath, a demon himself, trying to hunt and kill the rest of his kind. Another of my favourite manga series can be found here. If you're a sharp-eyed nerd fighter, you might have spotted these in the back of Hank's videos. This is a 10 series manga called Kodocha, and it's honestly one of the funniest, sweetest, most brilliant mangas I've ever read. The story is about Sana, a child actress who lives with her mother. Her mother, by the way, is one of the best characters. She keeps a chipmunk living in her hair. The storyline starts with her basically deciding to get revenge on one of the boys in her class who is ruining all the lessons, and it's just a really funny story about the two getting to know each other and Sana being Sana. Now this is the view you normally get in my videos. There are 2 authors hereabouts that I would take with me. Here you can find Jasperfforde. He is possibly the funniest, possibly the cleverest author I've ever read. His books, especially his Thursday Next series, are so amazing. The storyline is basically about Thursday Next, our main character, who eventually travels through books, policing them. The jokes are just on another level. Jasperfforde makes jokes with punctuation, he makes jokes with footnotes, and it's just the best book for book lovers. All the way through, characters from Dickens and Austen will make appearances. There'll be references to Triffids or Kafka. Even if you're not a big reader of literature, you can still completely appreciate these books. He makes fun of genres. He has a brilliant literary map. I'll show you the literary map. It's just fantastic. I just completely can't get enough of Jasperfforde. Over here we have Stephen Fry. I love Stephen Fry. I talked about him in my Oxford interview, that's how much I love him. I spent a great amount of my teenage years reading his books, especially Moab is My Washpot, the first part of his autobiography. He really understands that words have a rhythm to them and a sound to them that is like music, and that by changing the beats and changing the sounds, you can make things funny, you can make things sad, you can make things beautiful. Maybe it's a silly comparison, but reading him really reminds me of Oscar Wilde. Now, these books, I'm kind of embarrassed that they're in my top 10. I really wouldn't have imagined ever putting them in a top 10 of my authors, but I kept thinking about this idea of a desert island and what books I would most like to have with me if I could never have any other books. And I just kept coming back to the idea of Enid Blyton. Growing up, Enid Blyton was one of my absolute favourite authors. She was someone I learnt to read on. When I'm sad and down, I still resort back to Mallory Towers and The Folk of the Faraway Tree. They're just happy, beautiful little stories, even if they aren't intended for 9-year-olds. I had to pick one epic fantasy series, and there are a lot I like, and I decided that my favourite was the Maggie Fury books. They're full of everything you could possibly want from an epic fantasy. Magic, dragons, thieves. It's got the whole shebang. And so we're down to the final two, and they're both in fact mangas. The first is Fruits Basket, I'm sure one a lot of you have heard of. For anyone who doesn't know the storyline, it does sound a bit odd explaining it to people, but then maybe that's just because it's a manga, and mangas can be quite odd, but we love them for it. There is a family who have been cursed, so that there are 12 members. In fact, there are 13. My mistake. Anyone who's read the books will be laughing at me. Whenever they are stressed, or whenever they're hugged by a member of the opposite sex, turn into an animal. One of the sweetest mangas ever. And to finish it, a less sweet manga, a boys manga. You've probably heard about it or seen it on TV. It's Dragonball. Not Dragon Ball Z, Dragonball. Love this comic. I laugh all the time. This is the story of Goku, who in this comic is a child. One day a girl called Bulma turns up. She's looking for the Dragon Balls, which when all of them are gathered will grant a wish. She basically recruits him to help her find them. So I'm going to finish my video here at this jaunty, ill-lit angle. Anyway, those are the 10 books, series and authors I would take with me if I was to be stranded on a desert island with quite a lot of books, to be fair. I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below if any of my favourite books are your favourite books, and other booktubers. If you haven't already done a video on what your favourite books are, why don't you too do a video telling us what 10 books would be stranded with you on your desert island? Consider yourself tagged.